Hello, everyone. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Allison.
And this is Nerd of the Week, a randomly generated fandom podcast.
That was very NPR. I'm very proud of you.
Thanks. I was working on it. I was trying to have my voice nice and sultry.
Oh, yeah. It's really good. It's very good stuff. Oh, yeah. Don't you know? Every week, a new accent.
Every week, we descend further into the Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
Descend? Ascend?
Yes. Ascend?
Ascend into it? Since it's up?
But it's a descent into hell. So, I'm gonna go with that one.
Okay. Fine. Save us, generator.
Generator, save us from ourselves. Remind us of what the word is. Pollies.
The word of the week is mountain.
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 Okay.
You can't see me, but I was doing a little mountain dance.
Mountain. I was thinking like mountain pose in
Well,
yoga.
kind of. I had my fingers, like, imagine your tips of your fingers put together, so it's like a little house, and then put that over top of your head, and then shuffle your head back and forth.
Okay.
Real quick, like. That was my impromptu mountain dance.
Anyway. Mountain.
Yeah, unrelated.
What is the definition via Google for mountain?
Oh, boy. Hadn't thought of this. Had not considered. Let me consider mountain.
Consider the mountain.
It is a large uprising of the land.
I mean,
There's probably some definition of like what's a hill versus what's a mountain in geographic terms, but I don't know what it is, and I'm too sleepy to consider it.
Allison is EP. A large natural elevation of the Earth's surface rising abruptly from the surrounding level. A large, steep hill.
I feel like I kind of got the gist.
You got the gist of it. The other one that they gave is a large pile or quantity of something, like a mountain of paperwork. Which is fair.
A mountain of sleepiness.
A mountain of sleepiness.
Tell me about your thing.
I will.
And I will rejuvenate my energy.
I believe in you.
And by that, I don't mean I'm going to sleep. I am going to listen.
She's going to sleep the whole time. I'm going to talk to no one.
I'm not going to sleep. No, I'll be here for you. I'm always here for you.
All right. So you were asking about the ACOTAR series, and guess what I'm bringing? It's A Court of Thorns and Roses.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
So context is one of our friends more or less forced me to read these books. So she needs someone else to go through this book because she was like, is anyone else like realizing how crazy this story is? And I was like, I will read them if you get them for me. And she went, happy birthday. Here's the box set. So I just read the first one.
Oh, okay. So this really is a quite new acquisition. I
Yes.
was under the impression that you had read these ages ago.
No, I had never read them. I had another friend tell me about them, and she likes them. But this friend does not like them, and she wanted my opinion. So
Okay.
I have read the first one, and this is mostly because I just finished it today, and now I need to talk to someone about it. So what better way than to spew my thoughts into
Yeah,
a
spoil
podcast?
it for me because it's something that I might have actually read sometime in the future. No, it's okay. I don't mind. Go ahead. Tell me all about it.
So it's by Sarah J. Maas or Mass. I don't know. It's Maas. But it's one of 5 books based on the box set that I currently have. One of
Whoa.
5 books.
Okay.
First book is written in first person, and I think the rest of the books are not, but here we are. And main character's name is Faerie. And
Spell that?
Feyre.
Okay.
And this is a story about the Feywilds. Hey, look, we brought fairies back.
Yeah, it's been a
Into the
while. We needed the fairies to return.
in the podcast. But anyway, so Faerie is the youngest daughter of three. Her older sisters are Nesta and Elaine, and then her dad remains nameless, but functionally, her family was very wealthy at one point, and then her dad kind of got SOL'd into losing the fortune, and her mom died, and then they're impoverished, and they've been for a while. Faerie doesn't quite remember living the luxurious life. She was quite young when it happened, and she has pretty much been raised with little to no money, having to hunt in the woods for food and all the things.
Okay.
And so we start off with her talking about how cold and awful the winter is, and that they haven't eaten in days, and this, that, and the other. She's 19, so at least there's that, because a lot of these books start with them being 16, and it's creepy. I still would have liked her to be older, but here we are.
It's an improvement.
It's an improvement. I don't have to add numbers to her age when I'm physically reading the book, so there's that. And so she was about to turn around when she spies a deer, and she's like, oh, okay, great, we'll have food. And then a wolf appears out of nowhere. And this wolf stares at her, and he's huge. Like, he is way, way bigger than any normal wolf. And Faerie has, like, she's inner monologuing about how she's getting closer and closer to the wall. So this is not set in this world. It's its own world. And there is, to the north, there's the Faelands, and then there's a wall that separates the Fae from the mortal realm. And then all the humans are in the south. And, but because food has been so scarce, Faerie has been going further and further north, trying to find something to hunt and kill for winter. And then, so she has this thought process of, well, he's really big, he must be a Fae, and this, that, and the other. And she's like, I don't know what to do. So she shoots him in the eyeball with an ash arrow, which is apparently is the only thing that can take out Fae, because I guess there's, like, the hints of, like, iron can hurt Fae, but, like, no one really knows if it's true or not. So all the, like, standard classic Fae stuff kind of pushed to the side as rumor and lies, but not 100% true. But Ashwood apparently can kill Fae. And so Faerie shoots him in the eyeball, and then he's, like, dying, and she shoots him again so that he's dead. And then she has this whole monologue about how if he was really Fae, she wouldn't have won, and he couldn't have been Fae because he didn't, like, shapeshift back into a humanoid-looking thing, which to me doesn't make any sense, but I'll give the girl a break. She's hungry, she found a deer, and now she's found a large wolf. So, kills the deer, kills the wolf, skins the wolf, takes the deer home, sells the deer, or the skin of the pelt, that's the word, pelt of the wolf.
We got there.
Sells the pelt of the wolf and pelt of the deer to a mercenary who's telling her that weird shit's happening north of the wall. And she's like, how do you know? And she's like, well, I lost my last screw. And you're like, okay, whatever. And then she goes home and she's like, look, I got all this meat. And her sisters are ungrateful AF. Elaine is, like, just in her own little fairy world, like, in her brain. She's just, like, convinced that everything's sunshine and rainbows all the time. And Nesta just stares at you. And that is her entire personality for the book. She just kind of is there. And she's mad at their father, who let them basically starve to death, which is fair. But also, like, refuses to help around the house with chopping wood to keep them warm. And skinning the deer and prepping the meat and turning it into jerky so they don't die. And they're really annoying. And then Faerie is just like, okay, I'll do all this stuff because that's always what I've had to do, because I made a promise to my mom on her deathbed that I'd take care of everyone, and my word is my vow. And I would have been like, screw you guys, I'm out, you can feed yourself. But here we are. And then the next day, a golden beast bursts through the front door of her one-room cottage and demands payment for the death of Andras, which was the wolf she killed, who was totally a faerie and not a faerie like she kept convincing herself he was. And they were like, you have two options. I can murder you now, or you can pay a life debt, and you can just come back with me and live on the other side of the wall in my kingdom. And so Faerie was like really contemplating just being murdered. And then and then her dad was like, no, go. There's a better life on the other side of the wall. Only time we've heard this man speak. And so she goes to spend the rest of her life in the fairy realm. The fairy realm is called Pyrrhian, I think. It's Prythian. I'm going to call it Pyrrhian. Here we are.
Okay. Here we are.
Here we are. I have a lot of feelings about this book. So, she is being taken back by a high fae named Lucian, and I love him. He's like the only character that is like halfway reasonable in this book. He's just there, doing his best, and he
Wait. Is he a good boy?
He is a good boy.
Okay.
I love him. But Lucian is kind of snarky and kind of copping attitude about, oh my god, I can't believe you killed my friend, and I kind of don't like you because you suck, and my friend's dead, and also you're a smelly human. And you kind of understand where he's coming from, because she did just kill one of his good friends. And she's just being like I have to deal with these fairies, and just like an ungrateful little jerk about not being murdered in front of her family. And just having to live a life debt to the fae. I
mean, honestly, there's no good solution there.
Right. But also, she's just, I find her very grating on my personality.
Okay. So just to be clear here, from your perspective, we don't want her to succeed. We want all the bad things she has coming.
Mostly because there's a lot of Faerie don't do the thing. Faerie immediately does the thing, and it makes the situation worse. It's worse because she didn't listen. And it all starts with her hunting close to the fairy wall, which she was told repeatedly not to do. Anyway, so she rides along on the horse with Lucian, and he is a little bit snarky, and he's wearing a fox mask, and she's like, why you wear the mask? And he just like glares at her, and then she's like, all right, fine, if he's not going to talk to me, I'm going to figure out how to escape. And so she's sitting on this horse, you know, more or less starved because she didn't even get to eat the deer she killed, have been put into a magical sleep for some number of days that she doesn't know, so she doesn't know how to get to the High Lord's Fae realm nonsense. And she's like, I'm gonna take this horse the second we're there, and I'm just gonna take off. Like, this magical Fae guy can't just go chasing after her. And then he starts talking, and he's like, well, all right, so you're gonna meet Tamlin, who is the High Fae, who was the golden beast who burst in the door and like demanded payment, and then I was the one who had to take you back because Tamlin had to go take care of something. And so Faerie's like, all right, I'm gonna hear Tamlin out, eat their food, steal some food, and then I'm gonna escape. And her plan just keeps getting longer like that, and like she describes it all in like detail about how she's gonna sneak away in the middle of the night, and she sets up like hunting traps for these high fae lords who have like actual magic. And like it's like a stick that's gonna hit them in the face, so all it's gonna do is piss them off. And she learns that their inability to lie is a myth made up by the Fae. They're like, of course we can lie. We just lied to you about it because what a brilliant way to lie to humans. Say we can't lie, and then you think everything we're saying is truth. And then Faerie gets a room. It's this big, bougie, almost castle-like thing, and she has like a whole wing to herself and is like, you know, pretty decent gig for accidentally killing a fae, and the options are be murdered or live in this house forever. And Tamlin doesn't seem like he's a jerk. He's just like a little awkward and doesn't know how to talk to people, but it's fine. There's a long period of time where Feyre is just like, okay, and then I'll escape. But my family, though, but like everything's bad and I don't want to be here and I hate it. But Lucien's okay. He's fine. He's funny. He's snarky. We'll accept snarky laughter. Mm-hmm. And then my handmaid is nice. Her name's Alice. And Alice is kind of like that no-nonsense, like motherly figure who's just like rolls her eyes at Feyre's nonsense and is like, will you wear a dress? And she's like, no, I must wear trousers because I am a tomboy. Right, yeah. All of the things.
I'm not like the other girls.
Yeah, exactly. And then, also her personality is painting. If she didn't have to struggle to survive, she would paint. And the book reads like someone who took one art history class in college, and they're damn well going to use that class now, because she discovers a bunch of paintings on the walls in the big bougie castle and is like, they're just beautiful, and starts like describing the lighting and all this stuff, and I'm like, don't care, move on, let's go.
So this is really the scene that's the bothering, not moving the plot forward scene.
Yeah
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then Tamlin he tries to get her to explore her love of painting. He shows her the gallery that he has with all these like ridiculously beautiful murals and paintings everywhere. And he is doing his best to just try to have conversations with her. And then one day he comes back because he has to do a lot of border patrols, because she's slowly learning through eavesdropping, because no one tells her anything outright, that the all of Pyrethian is under some sort of blight that has decreased the amount of power all the high Fae Lords have. And so Tamlin and Lucien have to do a lot of border patrol to make sure that nothing crosses into their lands. And Pyrethian is broken up into different courts. So Tamlin's court is the spring court, and then there's spring, summer, winter, fall, night, dawn, and day court.
Wait, what now? You can't have seasons and then also different time periods.
They do. There's
no.
So there's the night court, the day court, the dawn court. There's no dusk court though, and that makes me sad.
Yeah.
The winter court, the summer court, the autumn court, the spring court, and then some island out in the ocean named Hybrin, something like that. That's a different court. And then there is Under the Mountain, which is in the middle of all of it. Hence mountain.
Is the mountain a court too?
The mountain is where the blight is coming from.
Ah, okay.
So being under the mountain is a bad thing. And so Tamlin comes back from one of his patrols, and he's bleeding from one of his hands, and the bleeding doesn't stop even though he has his magical Fae healing powers, and Feyre has to like tie off his hand and then just make sure that he's able to, use it. And he's like, that's a really good job on the bandage. And she's like, yeah, I had to learn from trial and error. And he's like, has anyone ever taken care of you? And there's just like a lot of that kind of tension between her and Tamlin. And meanwhile, I'm like, Lucien is right there, and he respects your bodily autonomy, and he's taking you hunting because you want to see the land, and he's nice to you. And Tamlin is just like staring at you. But okay, here we are. And then
wait, hold on. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not good that he wants to take care of her, because he doesn't want to take care of her in a good way.
So he won't tell her anything. He won't explain why the treaty makes her have to stay beyond the wall. And there's just a lot of like awkwardness with them and growing sexual tension. For some reason, they don't really have a lot of chemistry reading it. but
Okay.
he's an ancient, handsome fae who has a mask on because the blight happened while they were having a masquerade, and so the masks are stuck on their face and
Oh
have
my
been stuck on their
God.
face for like 49 years. All this
What a
nonsense.
loser.
Right.
Can't even show his face.
Right.
I know he doesn't have a choice, but
It gives Phantom of the Opera meets Beauty and the Beast, and I see what they were trying to do, but meh.
I see.
But so then there's a spring solstice festival that Feyre's told she cannot go to, and she's like, why? And he's like, because you'll die. And she's like, okay. So then she stays in her room for all of an hour and then proceeds to go to the spring festival.
No, she had one rule.
Right. And then the high prince of the night court, Rysand, sees her, and she was literally like gonna be swept away by other fae, like lesser fae, coming up and being like, what's a human doing here? And like, we're gonna mess with her. And she's all like, I don't know. And then Rysand was like, she's with me, and like takes her to the side and then kind of flirts with her for a minute before Lucian shows up. And Lucian was like, we literally told you you had one job. And so he carries her back to the manor, drops her off, and goes, stay here. And she's like, well, what's going to happen? And then she's like, Lucian's like, Tamlin has to reset the power of spring by having sex with someone. And if he smells your scent, it's going to be you, and he's not going to be gentle. And I'm like, oh my God. Okay.
No.
Then so Feyre's like, okay. And then so she goes and pouts in her room because she's mad that someone else is going to have relations with Tamlin for a ritual that he's got to do. And she's just
As
pouting.
though this hasn't apparently happened for thousands of years.
Every year on the spring solstice. Right. Like, right. So then...
She's such a pick-me girl. Oh my God. I hate her. I hate her just
Right?
like you hate her.
Thank you. So then Tamlin comes home after the festival, and Feyre's finally like leaned into the like exploring her hobby and paints and stuff. And then he's looking at her paintings, and then she just all of a sudden gets really mad at him, and he's like, what? And she's like, you just don't understand. And then he tries to make a pass at her because he's like, I just have to do that. And then she slaps him for doing the thing that she was mad at him for not doing.
Oh my God. This is no good.
Right. This is so stupid.
It's no good.
And then she hand waves the apology. Like, we don't have like a conversation. There's more just like stuff happens, and then they're talking again. And then there's a different festival that she's allowed to go to where she drinks fairy wine that makes her hella drunk, and she dances because Tamlin plays the fiddle, and so she's dancing for him. And then they have a cute little scene away where they kiss, and it's cute and it's fine.
But we don't like this guy.
But it's better than the previous like 100 pages.
Yeah, okay.
And then Tamlin mutters that he loves her, and then she wakes up and was told that, or like they have a couple of cute more scenes, but then when they go outside, there's a head on a spike left for them by the night court, and Rysand shows back up and is like, hey, did you like my gift? Haha. The High Queen sends her love. But Tamlin's like tries to hide Feyre with a glamour, but Rysand's too powerful, and he sees through it, and he's like, how dare you hide her from me? What's your name? And she's like, Claire? And he's like, the queen's gonna find out, and she's gonna murder all of you. And then he storms off. And then Tamlin's like, oh crap, I love this lady, and she's gonna get murdered by the High Queen, which we learn the High Queen is the blight that's happening. So the Fae realm is supposed to be ruled by the 7 High Lords, and Amarantha is the High Queen who came from the island that I can't pronounce, and she came over because she hates humans, and so she infiltrated the court and then took all their power, and then parked herself under the mountain, and now controls all the Fae world. And so...
And wait, and so all the fairies had no idea about this?
So
Or
Faerie
did
didn't
they
know.
all know?
They all know.
Okay.
Faerie didn't know. Faerie only found out that there were more people in the spring court once Tamlin lifted the glamour that he had over her to hide most of his people because he didn't want to endanger them by showing the human all of the fae, which is hilarious because at one point she did try to sneak out, and there was certainly a bunch of people like watching her try to sneak out because a shapeshifter fae was standing at the edge of the land pretending to be Faerie's father, who is crippled and cannot walk, and somehow managed to make it through the fae realm to get Faerie back. And Faerie's over here like, oh my god, it's my dad. He's come to rescue me. And you're like, 1, he literally said don't come back. 2, how? How did he get here without dying? 3, you're the one who claims you know everything, Faerie. But it's fine. It's fine. So then we go and Faerie gets sent back home to the human world.
Oh, they got tired of her?
Oh, he was protecting her from Amarantha discovering her because Rysand is kind of like the guard dog of Amarantha. And so then she goes back to the human world, discovers that her family got put under a glamour, thinking that she went away to take care of a random aunt who left them a fortune. But Nesta was too stubborn to be glamored, so she was just like, no, what happened? And like pulls her sister aside the second she gets home and is like, no, I saw all of this. Our father and our sister have no idea, but I know. And then Faerie's there for all of like a day, discovers that Claire's family, the fake name she gave, was burned in a fire because she gave the wrong name, or she gave a false name. So that justice for Claire's family. And then she was like, oh no, something horrible is going to have happened to Tamlin. So then she like rushes back to the Fae realm, and the manor is all busted up and gone, and everyone's gone except for Alice. And Alice is like, I can't tell you about the curse. I've been like cursed not to tell you about it. However, I can take you there. You're gonna die, but I can take you there. And so Alice takes Faerie to the mountain, where she meets Amarantha, who has every color hair. When I was reading this book, every time we described her hair, it was a different color. And I don't know if that was on purpose or if that was a mistake by the author, but I had felt the need to point it out. So then Tamlin's there, and he's got like this just like deadpan face because he doesn't want to show any emotion because he doesn't want Amarantha to be like riled up more. And she's like, well, you can win him back because what had happened is for 7 times 7 years, he had to fall in love with a human who killed a fae because they hated fae so much, and then the human had to return his love. That was how they were supposed to break the curse because of some slight that happened to her like 400 years ago involving a human and her sister.
Sounds like an overreaction, honestly.
Yeah, honestly. And then Faerie's like, fine, I'll do it. And she's like, oh, or you can solve my riddle. And the riddle is so easy. And she's like, if you solve the riddle, I'll let everyone go instantly, but you gotta solve it. And she's just like, no, I'm gonna take the tasks because I can't figure out this riddle. The answer to the riddle is love. Spoiler alert. Oh my gosh. It is so obvious in the first line, and it's also like Amarantha's whole shtick about how true love doesn't exist. So of course the answer to her riddle would be love. But anyway, so Faerie goes through the 3 trials. The first trial is fighting a giant worm. The second trial is answering a riddle and pulling the answer to one of the levers. Meanwhile, Lucian is tied down to the ground as spikes are descending from the sky.
Oh no.
And Faerie is illiterate, so she can't read the riddle.
Literally illiterate or just...
Literally. Can, like, she can read, like, yes, no, her name, like, tiny words to get her by for, like, hunting and selling that stuff, but that's it. That's all she's got. And then she feels a, like, power when she reaches for one lever that like hurts her hand, and then she goes to the another level and it hurts her hand, and then the third lever it doesn't hurt her hand, so she just pulls it. And we discover that Rysand, the night court guy, who's also kind of like the watchdog, has been helping her because he's been scheming to try to get her to kill Amarantha so that all the High Fae can be saved.
And then will she be saved as well, or pardoned, I guess?
Theoretically. Rysand is actually has like his crap together. He's like legitimately trying. This poor man has been enslaved to this lady for a long time and has been trying to figure out a way out. And Faerie is, unfortunately for him, the answer. And then the last task is that Faerie has to stab 3 people in the heart with ash daggers. And so she kills 2 just fine. And then the third one is Tamlin. And Amarantha's like, Mwahaha, if you kill Tamlin, he'll be free and he can be with you and you'll also be free. And then Faerie remembers that every time she's hugged Tamlin, he's never had a heartbeat. So she's like, oh, he doesn't have a heart. His heart's made of stone or something. So it's safe to stab him. So she stabs him. And Amarantha's like, it works. He doesn't die. And then Amarantha's like, haha, I said I'd free you, but I didn't say when. And then she has Faerie killed. And as Faerie's dying, Faerie's like, the answer to your riddle is love.
Oh
and then all the High Fae Lords are like, oh, we're free. And they murder Amarantha. And then Faerie is reincarnated as a fairy. And so now she's a fairy. And the other important plot point that I forgot to mention was that when Rysand was helping her out, she made a bargain with him that he would fix, I think she broke her arm fighting the worm, and so he would fix her arm so that she could continue to do the tasks and not die. And
this whole time she'd been doing them with a broken arm?
She broke the arm after the first trial, and then every trial was a month in between, so then she'd have to like exist and survive in under the mountain and then do the next trial. And so Rysand was like, if you visit me 1 week out of the month every month for the rest of your life, I'll help you out. And then so like functionally being like, you're gonna be my plaything kind of thing. And she was like, fine, I accept. And then like 5 minutes later, Lucien shows up and was like, why did you agree to deal with the night court? You knew I was coming to help you. And you're like, Lucien is right there the whole time. And every time you're like, nah, not Lucien. And then she finds Rysand and is like, because he had kind of like disappeared. And then he was like, all right, well, I just wanted to say goodbye before your lover takes you away forever. And Faerie is like, not forever, I made a deal with you. And he's like, oh, haha, right. And then disappears. Per the rules of the Fae, it was for the rest of her life. And she died. So she technically doesn't owe this man anything. But because the contract ran out per the terms of agreement. And now she's a fairy lady. But that's all the plot for the second book. And that's A Court of Thrones and Roses. And I'm so annoyed with it. So thank you for listening to my way too long rant about this book.
I feel like I would also be annoyed. These characters sound dumb.
Lucien is fine. I love Alice. Alice is a sweetheart. She's just trying to protect her nephews. So that's why she's doing what she's doing. And then it kind of felt like toward the end that Sarah J. Maas decided, actually, Tamlin's not going to be the love interest. It's going to be this Rysand dude because he's like mysterious and interesting and, you know, dark. And Tamlin just kind of becomes an idiot at the end. And I feel kind of bad for him, but he's also kind of an idiot the whole time. So, like...
no character development there.
Not really. So, that's my rant on this book. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Thank you for the rant. I do appreciate it. It was good, and maybe I'll read the books, but also maybe not.
If only to continue the tradition of the friends passing the book along to the next person in hopes that you'll live tweet us your reactions. Because that was my favorite part, was just sending my friend live tweets about all of the things I had issues with.
Has your husband read these books?
No, but he's had to listen to me. I don't exactly remember the scene where it happened, but basically I have never in my life put a book down because I had to walk away because I was so annoyed with it. And Eric watched me do that. And I was just like, this is there's been embarrassing moments in books before that are make me like, I have to like look away for a minute. Or there's been like parts that have annoyed me because the character's making a dumb decision, and I'm like, oh my god, come on. I have never had to physically put the book down and leave the room where the book was in my life.
Are these like nice books? Are they just like paperback books, or
they're
can
nice?
You do something naughty to them?
Can I do something naughty to them? I don't know. They came in a nice like box set, and so once they're done, they are pretty colors, so they'll look pretty on my bookshelf.
Okay.
So
as long as there's some benefit to them.
And they're easy reads, so, like, they're not difficult. Like, they're 400 pages, but they're not really. They're, like, it's more like a 200-page book, but...
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yes. Is there big print?
Yeah.
Okay.
Them's
They're
the
books
words.
for children.
No, it is not.
Well, thank you for bringing that.
You're welcome.
I have a quote, and it's actually a different quote than I thought I was going to bring because I magically found a new quote while we were talking.
Deal.
So let me tell you my new and better quote. It's real short.
Okay.
Kid, you'll move mountains.
Okay, I'll think about it.
Okay, think hard.
I will.
And then I'm going to talk you through something. I was going to say real quick, but it's probably not going to be real quick because guess what it is?
Is it The Hobbit?
It's The Hobbit!
That's why you got mad at me, I understand.
Listener, before we recorded, I was lamenting that I didn't think I had a good quote. And she said, well, you could just bring it from the Hobbit song. And that's what I was just bringing for the whole thing in general. So
She just said, listen to me very loudly.
listen to me.
I was like, okay. Here I am.
So we're going to be talking about the movie, The Hobbit.
Okay.
Well, actually, we'll just do the whole trilogy. I'm not going to make you listen to a 3-part series like I did for The Lord of the Rings.
Fair.
Because from what I understand, people don't like the Hobbit series as much. I don't mind them.
I like them.
I think they're fine.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad we're on the same page there. I know people have their qualms with like the casting and some of the story points, which we'll touch on a bit here if I remember them. Honestly, with it being a 3-part series, it's a little hard to remember everything that goes on.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I think it starts out real fun. It almost kind of starts out like a Disney movie with a musical vibe. Because
it does.
For those who are not in the know, so it opens up in the Shire, of course, where Mr. Bilbo Baggins lives. The titular Bilbo Baggins of Bag End, who is the uncle to Frodo Baggins, who is the star of The Lord of the Rings. So this is like the prequel to Lord of the Rings, essentially. So Bilbo lives there, and he is friends with Gandalf the Wizard. I think they're friends before this happens.
I think so too.
Yeah. But anyway, Gandalf comes and he says, I need you to come with me on a voyage. And Bilbo does not want to go because he's a hobbit, and the hobbits like to stay in the Shire and do their hobbity thing, which I don't blame them. The Shire sounds lovely. It's idyllic. Bilbo like storms off into his little hobbit hole, and he closes the door and locks the windows, and he's like, I'm not coming with you, Gandalf, and don't come back on banging onto this door. As Gandalf is leaving, he like makes a mark on the door, and it, like a magical mark that Bilbo can't see, but it's there nonetheless. So anyway, he goes about his day, he's getting ready for bed, and then he gets a knock on the door, and it's a dwarf. So short person, much like a hobbit, but lots of strongness and gruffness as dwarfs are. You know what dwarfs are, right?
Yeah. Gimli.
Yeah. So anyway, it's not Gimli. I don't remember which one shows up first. I'm sorry. But there's a bunch of them in total. I think it's like 14 or 12 or something dwarves eventually come to poor Frodo's house. Yeah. And they're like making their way for his pantry and like using all of his fancy silverware, and he's like, oh, don't use that, it's my great nephew or my great aunt's cutting board, or you whatever, just like all this sentimental stuff.
I was an adult when I related to Bilbo watching these people eat his food and just the look of death in his eyes.
Yes, and they're just making a mess. And there's this one time where they like, one of them is trying to like shoot an apple at another one or something and like get it into his mouth, and they do, and everyone like cheers like, yeah, like it was the best party game ever. And then finally the last knock at the door comes, and the king of the dwarves comes, and his name is Thorin.
Thorin Oakenshield, king under the mountain. I just love him so much, okay?
So, let me also tell you though, one of my gripes with the casting here is, you know someone's a main character if they're kind of hot.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, of all of the dwarves, there's only 3 of them who are like, you could be a normal person, kind of. All the rest of them are like, you look a little silly, and you've got some weird facial hair going on. But, so there's Thorin Oakenshield, who looks like kind of a normal person. And then there's his relatives. I think they're his cousins, Fili and Kili.
Yeah, I think they're his cousins.
Yeah, they're like younger members of the royal family, essentially. But they're also like, they could kind of pass as normal looking people and not look ridiculous.
They're not necessarily dwarfs.
Exactly. But I mean, in the movie, they're all like the same height. It's not like these people are like super tall. But and then there's of course like Ian McKellen, who's Gandalf, and he's super tall because of CGI. Hashtag thanks CGI. So Thorin's big thing that he needs to do is he has to go into the mountain where the Dwarven kingdom used to be, that has been taken over by the dragon Smaug and made into his hoard. And he has to steal back some fancy gemstone that basically means that he's the king of the dwarves. And if he has that, then he wins. And if they can slay the dragon at the same time, hooray.
Right.
The reason that Gandalf wanted Bilbo to join the party is because dwarves are loud and obnoxious and smelly, and hobbits are apparently not smelly and not obnoxious and sneaky. So he is the sneaker, and he shall sneak in and he shall steal this big gem from the dragon. They have to like, this whole time he's like, I don't want to go. I'm not going with you guys. And they're like, okay, fine, bye. The next morning, like, everyone's gone. But there's some note that's left over or something, like his contract of employment. He's like, wait, you know what? Maybe I should go. And so he goes running off after them with just like a backpack. And it's where the meme, I'm going on an adventure, comes from. Which I love. And he catches up to them and he's like, wait, I'm coming with you. Look, I've signed my name on the contract. I'm all yours. And they're all like making bets of like, was he going to join or not? And Gandalf wins the bet. He's like, I knew you were going to come. But I think they also have some bet going of like, is he going to make it the whole time?
Yeah.
So that's like this whole thing where it's like, he's misses his home, but he's willing to keep going with them. And like this, he's kind of like the prissy member of the party because he's never been on an adventure before. He doesn't know how to adventure, and they're being mean and rude to him. Like, oh, you don't know how to like sleep on a bedroll, or you think you need a handkerchief out here. Like, they're being rude. There's no need to be rude to somebody who's doing something for the first time. That's a sure way to make sure that they never do that thing again.
Honestly, true.
They need to be nicer to their new friend. But eventually he like does kind of befriend them all, and they all like, yeah, we like our little hobbit boy. But they still have their doubts of like, he's gonna eventually turn around and go back home. Let me see what's going on here. I'm sorry, I'm gonna be all over with the plot. I don't care. I'm sorry. There's also some backstory.
Allison is eepy.
I'm sleepy. I just want to tell you about things. So there's a backstory where there's a big white orc that Thorin Oakenshield was fighting against in some ancient battle. I don't know. And he thought he killed him. And like the way he says it, he's like, that orc is long dead and buried underground. And Gandalf is just like, he may be. And like the way he says it like makes you think like he knows better, and like maybe he knows that this orc is still alive. I don't know how to read him on that. Like, why doesn't he just, if he does know, why doesn't he tell Thorin like, yeah, he's still alive, he's still out there? So I don't know if he knows or not, or if he just has his suspicions. What's your take on that?
I think he's just has his suspicions, at least at this point in the story.
Okay. Well, he at least doesn't have an arm anymore. Thorin cut his arm off, so now he has a little prosthetic arm. One thing I hate about the orcs in this movie, more than I hate about the orcs in the Lord of the Rings movies, is all of their like weird mechanical body parts that they have. Like, there's something very body horror about it, where it's like they purposely grew their limbs to be bad so that they could attach like the like mechanical, what is it, like trebuchet to their arm or something. Like, like they're just little horrors, and I don't like them.
That's completely valid.
Yeah. Let me see. I also think they use a lot more CGI orcs rather than actual people orcs here. So
that's my biggest gripe.
Doesn't look as good.
Yeah, that's my biggest gripe with the Hobbit trilogy, is that like you can tell when it's CGI versus actually having a large cast of people. And like the orcs, while terrifying in the original 3 movies, were just, they were scarier somehow because they were people, right? Like, and
they moved looks like real people move.
Right. There was not that uncanny valley that kind of loses you with the CGI.
Yeah. So I guess that's my biggest disappointment of these movies. And it's weird because like you'd think like, oh, CGI would have been so much better when these were made, but apparently it's not good enough.
Yeah.
I guess, when were they made? 2012? It's kind of long ago at this point, I guess.
Yeah, I think now it might have been better, but even then, like, I understand it's a huge undertaking and expensive the way they would do it, but also it's The Hobbit, guys.
Yeah, come on. You did it for Lord of the Rings. Do it for The Hobbit, too. Going back to our story here. There's also kind of like a side story that is more with Gandalf, where every now and again he has to like go away from the party and go do some stuff.
Yeah.
He meets up with another wizard whose name is...
Oh, the squirrel guy.
He's a good wizard.
I love him.
What's his name, though?
Radagast.
Radagast. Yep, Radagast. So he's like the forest wizard, and he lives, well, in the forest. He can communicate to like the birds and the little rodents and everything.
Brown, I think.
Yes, the brown. And under his hat, he has like a little bird's nest. It's really cute. But anyway, there's some plight going on in his forest, and like these giant spiders and everything are descending upon it. I think he lives in the Greenwood, which became the Mirkwood by the time the Hobbit the Lord of the Rings happened. So this was like the start of all the destruction that really happened by the time we get to Lord of the Rings. Anyway, so he's like, he finds this poor little mouse who's about to die, and he's like doing everything he can to bring it back to life. And the only thing that he can actually do to save it, he has to like, I think he like does this weird magic spell where basically he has to like suck the poison out of it and into himself.
Yeah.
And in doing so, he kind of like dispels this curse that was also being put on his entire home. And that's when he sees like the giant spiders running away, essentially. It's very disturbing. I don't like it at all.
Yes, it definitely foreshadows the ick that is later on.
Yeah. But he gets a message to Gandalf, or Gandalf comes find him. I don't know, somehow they get in contact. They're buddies. And
Wizard
he also
stuff.
he has this cool sled that's pulled by the rabbits.
I love this sled. Oh my god.
But anyway, so he and Gandalf, they try and meet up in this old abandoned castle where the necromancer is what they call him. The necromancer is coming back. And I believe the necromancer is actually like the start of Sauron coming back.
Yes.
Yes. So they're trying to like stop him in his tracks, and Galadriel gets involved. It's a real creepy place, and it's like all like it has spells covering parts of it, so like they think it's more abandoned than it actually is. And they are unfortunately unsuccessful, as you would think, because the Lord of the Rings happened, and the necromancer does come back, unfortunately, as Sauron. There's another, I believe, scene of Gandalf by himself. Oh, this is where he meets the Radagast the first time. He like sent a message to him, like, meet in this place. It's this awful tomb up in the mountains. Here we go with some mountains. So he climbs to the top of the mountain, and then he has to like climb down into the mountain. And it's like these tiny little stairs that are jutting out inside this shaft of like a mine or something. And he gets into this one crypt somehow, and he tries to open it up, and a bunch of bats fly out, and it's terrifying. But the crypt is empty. There were supposed to be like, I think 7 of them, and they're the Black Riders who go chasing after Frodo. Because they've escaped now.
The Wraiths, right?
Yes, the Ring Rats, yeah. Anyway, Radagast had gotten there first, and it's like a really spooky, scary scene of like, who's suddenly here? Oh, it's just you, Radagast. And he's like, why would you want to meet in this ghastly place? He's a good boy, and I want more of him.
He's a druid, and I love him.
Yes. Gosh, I think he plays more of a part, or maybe, actually, hold on. I think maybe he actually plays less of a part in the book The Hobbit. I think they played up his character here.
Yes.
It's been a long time since I actually read The Hobbit.
So they did a lot because like The Hobbit was first, right? And then Tolkien took The Ring and turned it into the Lord of the Rings series. And
but there's a whole bunch of other lore.
Yeah, and so the movies took because like legitimately Gandalf just disappears throughout The Hobbit, and so they just expanded upon where the heck Gandalf was.
Where is Gandalf today?
Where in the world is Gandalf? Where in Middle Earth is Gandalf? But yeah, I don't remember if Radagast is in The Hobbit or not, or if he's just like vaguely mentioned as someone Gandalf knew, or he like said, oh, I was visiting Radagast in the forest, but like there was nothing more beyond that.
I actually went down a wormhole a while ago about Lord of the Rings lore, and not only, so there's Gandalf the Grey, Saruman the White, Radagast the Brown. There's also 2 blue wizards somewhere that never get mentioned in any of the books, but they're in like some like random Tolkien letter that he wrote about the lore.
Okay.
And they were apparently like turned to the dark side the earliest. So they are like off in their own realm somewhere doing evil.
Being evil guys.
Yeah. So they're
Classic
still out
blue
there.
wizards.
They could do something bad. That's not ever resolved in The Lord of the Rings. But anyway, getting back to The Hobbit, they also eventually they get captured by the trolls in the mountain, which poor opportunity. They could have done in the Hall of the Mountain King as part of the soundtrack, but they didn't. Probably because of aesthetics, but I think it would have been perfect. I do love the CGI of the Troll King. I think they do him very well.
Yeah.
He's yucky, and it's good.
The troll scene's pretty solid.
Yeah. I also like, they have a lot of fighting scenes that are very video game-esque, it kind of seems like.
Yeah.
Like, it's all really well choreographed in the Troll Kingdom. There's, like, all these little bridges and, like things that they have to step on, and like they have to step on it on the right time while it's like a box falls on the other side, so they get launched over the bridge appropriately or something. Like it's all like this all had to work perfectly or it wouldn't work kind of thing. So that's fun. They escape from the Troll King. They also, this is not part of the actual Hobbit book, but they meet up with Legolas, a young baby Legolas, played by Orlando Bloom. The reason that they meet up with him is just so that Orlando Bloom could be in the movie, though.
Honestly, though.
He did
With
not
the
need to
river
be there.
scene and the barrels. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's another one where it's like very video game or like Disney ride where it's like you're just going down the river in a barrel. The reason that they had met up with him, gosh, I don't remember if it was him who wanted to be on their side or his girlfriend Tariel who wanted to be on their side, but they were captured by Legolas's dad, who was, oh gosh, who is he? I have the cast all pulled up here. Hold on.
I'm bad with the elf names.
I got this. King Thandriel.
Yep. Yep, that's right.
He has a cool look. I like him a lot. And
He's got a good vibe.
yes. And actually, Thorin wanted to have like a meeting with him. He's like, "Can you help us, please?" And then the elf is like, "Nah, you're in prison now." But basically, he's like, Thorin's like, "But the Smog stole our entire home, and like I need to get it back." And I thought the elves might want to help with that because I don't think you guys like Smog either. And this whole time, King Thandriel has like a glamour spell on himself, and he kind of like lets the illusion drop, and he's like, "You think you've lost a lot, so have I." And like his whole side of his face is all burned off, I think because of a battle with Smaug. Somehow Smog has the elf jewels or something like that.
Okay.
So they have beef with Smog, but they also don't like the dwarves, so they're not going to help them. Something that I think is a fun behind the scenes is that when Lee Pace, who is King Thandriel, and Orlando Bloom, who's Legolas, they were all like costumed up. They're like, wow, people really commented that we really do look like father and son. But what's funny is Orlando Bloom is 2 years older than Lee Pace.
Is he really?
He is. But I think overall, good casting. They fit the roles very well. They did good.
Yeah.
Then there's more shenanigans. Let's see. Oh, from the goblins, that's where Bilbo gets lost. And he finds Gollum and he steals Gollum's ring, which is the ring. And it's when he learns he can turn invisible. And there's some sad scenes of Gollum where he's realized he's lost the precious. And there's a scene where Bilbo almost kills him because the ring is like possessing him already. But he doesn't. He sees the sadness in his eyes and he lets him go. He's like, it's not me to kill somebody. And he manages to escape out the tunnel. But he thinks he's going to be left behind because the dwarves are all running away and they're followed by a bunch of orcs. There's a big fight on this cliffside and they're all like stuck up in these pine trees that they've climbed up, and the orcs are like coming after them and knocking the trees down, and so they're lighting pine cones on fire to throw it at them. And it's a pretty good weapon.
Yeah, pine cones catch fire pretty well.
Yeah. So they're kind of holding things back, and they're like, "Oh, but we've lost our hobbit." And everyone's like, "Yeah, we knew he wouldn't make it. We knew we shouldn't have brought him along."
Oh.
And then Bilbo, he like takes the ring off. He's like, "Actually, I'm right here. I've been here the whole time." And they're like, "Oh, okay, hi." But he helps them win this battle basically, and he doesn't. There's like some noble thing he does where he doesn't allow Thorin to be thrown under the bus, and everyone survives.
Yay!
And the orcs who attacked them are killed. Hooray!
Yay!
I don't know all the plot points. I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Oh my goodness. Moving on though, there's more to be said. They eventually get to Fishtown, but there they have to find an archer who has a black arrow that is the only thing that's able to kill Smaug. And the reason he has a black arrow is because like his great-grandfather or something was in some battle and tried to kill Smaug as well.
Is that why he's important? I have never understood this part of it.
I think that's why he's important. It's because he has the black arrow and he also doesn't like the bureaucracy that has taken over Fishtown.
Okay.
And he's like a rebel fighting against the cause.
Okay.
I don't know. It's a stupid part of the story. I don't like him. He's a pick-me boy. He's not like the other men.
All I know about this is that Stephen Colbert, who is a huge Tolkien fan, got to be like one of the fishermen in a cameo, and he was like super geeked about it.
Oh gosh, I didn't know that. That's fun. I guess really the big plot point here is they convince this guy, his name is Bard. They convince him to help them and that they will bring the dragon out of the mountain. Meanwhile, Thorin is kind of like starting to go a little bit insane. Like he's getting what they call like the gold fever or something, where he's like, we just have to get back what was ours, and like if we can, then we'll all be returned to our riches, and I'll be king, and I'll be the best king. And everyone's kind of like, Thorin's acting a little weird, but okay. There's also...
He's hot, so it's fine.
Right? There's also I'm so sorry. There's so many plot points. There's a riddle where the only way to get into the old kingdom is like on some like cloudless night, look to the moon, and wherein the nuthatch knocks 3 times. I don't know the whole rhyme. I'm so sorry. Anyway, they can't figure it out, and then finally Bilbo realizes what the answer is, and they're able to get in, I guess. It's like a secret passage. Yeah. It's not the actual front door to the kingdom, the dwarf kingdom. It's a back door.
It's in the same vein of the speak friend and enter, where it's more obvious than you think it would be.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there's at one point where they almost like lose the key as well. And then Thorin like comes back when Bilbo's like, wait, I know it. And he like has the key and he's like, good job, Hobbit. I knew it was good that we brought you along.
Even though like, he's been actively against it the whole time.
Right? Like, the only time he appreciates Bilbo is when he's done something immediately that time. And Bilbo, he's just like, I think he's my friend. I think he's a good guy. Poor Bilbo does not get the credit or recognition or niceness that he deserves from these guys. So anyway, they all make it in and they, like, have plans to, like, slay the dragon. They're like, well, little hobbit, why don't you go down there? You're supposed to be our sneaker. Like, go see if you can steal the gem and bring it back. And Frodo's like, Bilbo, he's like, okay, I'll go on down there. It'll be fine. It'll be fine, right? What's the worst that can happen?
Right.
And he also has his magic invisibility ring, so that's good. So he goes on down there, and he's like, it's going to be a few piles of gold. Oh, no, it's not a few piles of gold. It is a massive, like, city block full of gold, like, tens of meters deep. And, like, it would be impossible to fathom looking through all of this to find this one specific gemstone that they need. And he's just like, I have no idea what to do. Oh my gosh. And so he just like kind of starts walking down the stairs and like getting into the gold and just like looking at stuff and moving through. And then suddenly it all shifts and like Smaug is still asleep, luckily. And he like rolls over like a little puppy and all this gold falls off of him and the hobbit like gets washed away in this wave of gold. And he still has not found the gem yet. He somehow disturbs something as he's looking around and he wakes up Smaug and he's like, I know you're there. I can smell you. I don't know what you are. I've never smelt anything like you before, but I know you're there. And they have a little bit of like a little riddle game going on for a second. And Bilbo's trying to like outsmart him and try and be like, oh, you are the great and powerful Smaug. And I hoped that I could like learn from you and like trying to flatter him. And he's like, you're not going to win me over with that. I know what you're doing. He eventually finds the gem and he's like, I suppose this is what you want. And just makes it like impossible for the hobbit to get. He like keeps knocking it down under a bunch of different gemstones and stuff. Eventually Bilbo makes him angry enough that I think, gosh, I don't remember what he does. Oh no. Somehow he makes him real angry and he runs back up to the dwarves and he's like, okay, so he's awake and we got to do something about that. They come up with this elaborate plan to like dump molten gold onto him, basically.
Yeah, not really the brightest move, but it's fine.
So they get into this huge fight through all these passages of the kingdom with Smaug. Now, secretly, Bilbo did get the gemstone somehow, but he's not telling them that he got it. He's like, I can't find it. It's not there. Like, we just got to get rid of the dragon, or else we're never going to be able to have peace to find it. So that's how they kind of go all along with this. Their plan doesn't work. They do pour the gold on Smaug, but it doesn't last.
Because he's a dragon.
He's a dragon. He's got scales. And he, like, breaks out the side of the mountain where their kingdom is, and he starts flying to Fishtown. Luckily, somehow Feely and Keely, the other hot dwarves, were there. For lack of a better way to describe them. And they, like, knew that he was going to be coming, so they helped Bard organize the troops, and they're successful. It's a stupid battle. I care nothing about it. It's boring. But
honestly,
Bard,
fair. I just kind of skip over it.
Yeah, it's dumb. It's how the second movie starts, basically. Anyway, so Bard kills the dragon with the black arrow. Hooray, hooray. So now we are...
R.I.P. Benedict Cumberbatch.
I know. You'd never know it was him, though. They have such voice
so
filters.
Amazing. I love him so much. Anyway.
Now that the dragon's gone, Thorin can search to his heart's content. And this is really where the gold fever takes over. And everyone's like, they can't stand him anymore because that's all he thinks about is gold and finding this gem. And it's making him crazy. But Bilbo doesn't want to give it to him because he feels giving into it's going to make it worse, which probably.
Honestly, fair.
Yeah, honestly fair. He did a good job there. And eventually Thorin, like, drives himself insane where I think he, like, I don't know, he, like, hallucinates the dragon is back or something. And he himself is falling into a pile of molten gold. And somehow that pulls him out of his, like, craziness. And he's like, oh my gosh, I'm turning into my father, which is how this whole thing happened to begin with. And how we let the dragon in. I need to stop this nonsense and go apologize to my friends. And so he does.
It's always a bad day when you realize you're turning into your parents.
Oh, no. But Bilbo's like, yeah, I forgive you. You are my friend. I don't honestly remember if he gives him back the gem or not. I'm sorry. I don't think it matters one way or another.
Remember. Yeah,
I feel like he doesn't. I feel like it just, like, gets thrown away somewhere. But
I think it becomes not important
enough after what happens next, which is another orc battle. Because, of course, the orcs come back, led by the white orc that's not actually dead.
Yep.
The orcs are pointless. They're not even, like, cool orcs. They're not under Sauron right now. Like, there's no reason for them to be there. They're just out and about. At this point, the elves do kind of agree to help them. And they give them their elf jewels back. King Theoden, he comes riding in on, like, a reindeer or something. It looks really cool.
It's rad.
It's nice. He's got a cool ride. I really like Lord of the Rings elves. They're my good aesthetic.
Honestly, same. The horse was a draft horse that he rode in on.
Oh.
And then they obviously made it look like a big deer.
Yeah.
But the horse apparently hated one line that he was giving and would just start to turn slightly to the right as he was giving just one specific line.
Oh my god. Animal
so
actors are the best.
They had to keep shooting that scene because he just kept cracking up because he'd be in the middle of something very serious and the horse was just like, da-da-da-da-da.
That's so good. Thank you for that good horse trivia. It's better than the actual battle that I have to talk about. I don't even want to talk about the battle. It's dumb.
We can skip it.
I'm not going to. Feeling Killy die because of the orc. Thorin dies because of the orc, but he does kill him first, which is good. And there's this kind of epic scene. They're on, like, the top of a waterfall somehow, and he gets crushed under the ice. And then as he's going by, Thorin stabs him in the heart with whatever weapon is meant to kill him. And he does kill him. And just, like, the whole waterfall, you see, like, turning red as his, like, body and blood fall down it.
It's pretty metal.
Yeah. and you watch Thorin Oakenshield just like kind of walk along the ice over top of him as he's dying. And then right after he confirms that the orc is in fact dead, he also then dies.
Job's done, and I'm out.
So of the dwarf party, I feel like the only person who's still there is Balin, who he's the grand person. What is that called? Grandfather?
Grand person. It's just the gender neutral grandparent.
He's the grandfather of Gimli, I think.
Yes, he is.
Yes. And so he had met Legolas, and he's like, I've got a little grandson here. Do you want to see him? And he like looks, he has a picture of him in his wallet or something that he shows Legolas.
In his wallet.
I don't know. It is like he carries around a little locket or something with a picture of his grandson. I don't know. So that's the start of that little friendship there. Legolas survives, obviously. He can't be with his love because he has other things to do.
He's got Legolas things.
Yeah. Tariel, that's the girl. She doesn't actually exist in the books. I think they made her up just for this. Well, I think they also said there's not enough girls in this cast. We need to have more girls. Because I think literally Galadriel is the only actual lady character who's in this entire thing. So they're like, we need some more representation. Let's make a lady character.
Yeah.
That's
no one's
about
passing
it.
Lord of the Rings does not pass the Bechdel test.
No. But yeah, that's all I have to say about it. Sorry I don't know like any of the actual plot points.
No, you did. Good.
But there's lots of mountains. They spend a lot of time inside literal mountains.
This is true. There's a lot of mountains going on.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Do you want my quote again?
I would love your quote again.
Okay. Kid, you'll move mountains.
The only thing I can think is Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
Is it the Dr. Seuss book?
It is. It is. Okay. It's Oh, the Places You'll Go.
Yep, that's it. Okay.
Good job. I'm proud of you.
Thanks. I was like, if it's not Dr. Seuss, I got nothing.
Yeah. You're really good at guessing my quotes. I think you guess them most of the time.
Yeah.
I think we've lost count. If any of our listeners have been keeping track of who wins the quote guessing, let us know.
Yeah, please and thanks. And yeah, what do we do now?
I think we have to tell them another word.
Generator, what is our next one?
The next word is mechanical.
Boop, 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 boop. That's my mechanical noise.
I like it. Picasso.
Perfect.
All right.
I'm ready.
So we reached the end of the podcast. Thanks for listening to my rant and Allison's retelling. And
I had a little bit of a rant too.
Little rant, little retelling. It was a good time. We had fun. I hope we had fun. And if you did, share with a friend and tell them that we're kind of funny and you like our podcast, so we can grow as a podcast. Thanks.
Yeah. Let us grow. Let us grow. Oh, also, I think if you listen to us on Google Podcasts, which I don't know who's doing that anymore, but it's probably not going to exist on Google Podcasts because they're getting rid of it, I think.
Yeah.
So don't do that anymore.
There's some weirdness with Google Podcasts, but we're everywhere else.
Yeah. Go watch us on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm actually uploading some right now. I'm catching up, I promise.
Oh, perfect. And by watching, I mean it's a picture and you listen to us just like this.
Yeah. Maybe eventually we'll do live recordings, but I also crochet while we do this, so you're
and
just going to be looking at me
sometimes
crocheting.
nap, so... By sometimes, I mean this one time, just this
one time. Allison just doesn't listen to me in my bits.
No, I do. I promise I do. Okay.
All right.
Enough of this Allison slander.
That's the end of the episode. As always, I've been Stephanie.
And I've been Allison, the sleepy.
And this is Nerd of the Week. Don't let Big Wall get in your way.
Mm-mm.
Bye.
Bye.